All right, so I wanted to just wanted to make a little video partly about this guitar I just bought, which is let me see if I can get this in my screen, an Epiphone ES335 IG, which I think stands for Inspired by Gibson. $600 guitar, bought it from Sweetwater. And I guess that's what I want to talk about is just buying guitars online, or at least talk about my experience with buying guitars online. Hang on, let me move this. There we go. I never really liked buying guitars in guitar stores. I'm not one to sit there and noodle on some random guitar. I always felt it kind of weird and uncomfortable. Don't ask me why, that's just how I am. So I've pretty much been either ordering parts for. I don't own a single guitar I bought in person. The exception being my custom, which is this one, if I can reach it. This was my extra, and I didn't really go sit down in a guitar store and buy it. I had it made. Everything else I've bought online for, my goodness, the past... I was ordering Warmoth parts. I don't think I bought a guitar in a store since 2001, something like that. I guess I'm a little more utilitarian when it comes to my guitar choices. I'm trying to get one of every type. And for me, that means different scale length. The body wood, for me, doesn't mean a damn thing. I think the neck maybe has more, and the nut has more to do with how a guitar sounds than any other part of it, except for maybe the electronics. But I have 24-inch scale guitars. I have 25-inch scale guitars. I have 24 and 3/4 scale guitars, and I have 25 and a half inch scale guitars. That's the big factor for me. And then the semi-hollow body / hollow body, different things. Now, I guess looking at what I've got here, I do kind of prefer mahogany as a body wood. But I don't need to sit down and play it and see if it has some weird magical quality. And I've said this before, I don't know if I've said it in any of my videos, but guitars, for me, I like the most, not by how great they sound or how good they play, but how little they annoy me. There's always something that annoys me, whether it be my Eastwood, the volume pot has 0 taper, which is annoying as hell. My SG, my Gibson SG, all of the pots are scratchy, and they were scratchy out of the box. And that's why I want to talk about Sweetwater maybe a little bit versus Guitar Center buying online. And my own experiences, not even necessarily my opinion, I'm just going to state my experiences. There isn't much else just off the top of my head that irritates me. Now, this guitar, the big one between Epiphone and Gibson is typically going to be nitrocellulose versus these are made with polyurethane. Let's get some noise in the background. Might as well have some noise going on in the background, huh? I'll admit I kind of like nitrocellulose. I don't think it sounds different. It feels different. And the way it wears and such gives you kind of gives you a feeling. I don't know. I'm not trying to make a stance on urethane versus nitro. I looking at what I own, I have a combination of both. That doesn't matter. The one thing I do look at, I guess, to first off, this thing is fantastic. Now, obviously, when you buy sight unseen and you buy a more budget price guitar, such as an Epiphone or a Squier, and maybe I'll just talk specifically about Epiphone for a minute. Epiphone is still, in my opinion, the most inconsistent of the budget brands. It's always a little bit of a crapshoot of what you're going to get. My first Epiphone I bought in the late 80s. It was a Super Strat style one. And I remember the action was so high on it, it was almost unplayable. But although I had a Squier back then, that the action was so high in it, it was almost unplayable. Now I got an annoying loop going on in the background, huh? So years have gone on, and right now I think the best guitars of all time are being made. This thing came out of the box because obviously Epiphones, or at least this one, did not come with a case. Pretty much good. I had to raise the action on it a little higher than I normally would. Somewhere in here, there's a bad fret in here somewhere. But I was able to raise the action enough. Now, also, you don't necessarily get nicely polished frets when you buy an Epiphone. And I'm not going to waste my time polishing them. I'll play them in. So those frets, they'll get played in. So right now, as you can see, the way I play, I don't require super low action. In fact, I'd prefer better tone, less fret buzz. But I am going to adjust the frets here a little bit. I talked already. Talked too long. So the one thing so let's just talk about where, okay? And for me, the two places I shop are either going to be Guitar Center or Sweetwater. I don't buy guitars through Reverb. I've looked at them on occasion, but at least at this point, I've never bought one there. And the reason why I go to Sweetwater first is because they post the guitar weights. No, I don't have shoulder problems or anything, but I've had a few very lightweight guitars over the years, and those are always the ones I gravitated to. They don't sound better. They don't play better. I don't know. It's just something about picking up that guitar, and that's where the mojo lies for me, I guess, when you pick it up and it's lightweight. So this guitar at Sweetwater, and I wasn't shopping for a 335, by the way. I always thought I'd wait till I saved up enough money and get a Gibson 335. But man, it's hard to justify that kind of money for a guitar for what I do at this point in my life. I always peruse stuff, do a lot of window shopping online. It's easy to do. And this one was listed as weighing 6 pounds, 10 ounces, okay? Which, for any of you that know 335s and looking at the materials they use on this, is highly unlikely. However, it is compelling for me to talk myself into, hey, maybe I'll just get a $600 335. And if I have any issues with it, I got enough know-how now, I can probably make it work. And the only reason I mentioned this is because a few years ago with Sweetwater, I was perusing the Classic Vibe Telecasters, and I don't have the info in front of me. I should have looked it up, but they had a Classic Vibe Telecaster. I want to say it was posted at like 6 pounds, 3 ounces, something like that, like super lightweight. So I jumped on that one, similarly to the way I jumped on this one. Even if it weighed a pound more, I figured, ooh, that's still a nice weight for a Telecaster. I love the way the Classic Vibes sound. They play really good too. In fact, my Classic Vibe Strat I think it sounds better than my Eric Johnson Strat, to be honest. It's lighter and it plays better. Not that I don't like my Eric Johnson Strat, but look at that comparison. So on this one, so on that Telecaster, it gets to my home, and instead of being, and forgive me, I don't remember the weight, but instead of being under 7 pounds, closer to 6 pounds and 7, it weighed almost 10 pounds. I mean, not even close. It wasn't even out of the box for 20 minutes. Tried to talk myself into, keeping it, but, with the guitars I have, I can guarantee you the heaviest guitar I own is usually the last one I pick up. So I immediately reached out to my salesman at the time, and forgive me, I forget his name, because after that transaction, I got assigned a different guy who, by the way, is really cool. Because he got adversarial with me. And he's like, well, Telecasters don't weigh that much or that little. I was like, well, yeah, that's why I tried to buy it, in hopes that even if it was close to that weight, it was probably a pretty good one as far as the weight goes. But they took it back. Sweetwater was good. I don't know why that salesman decided to get adversarial with me, because they literally had it posted at an erroneous weight. And maybe the guy just fat-fingered it that day. I don't know. And that was a few years ago. But again, Sweetwater gave me very little pushback. It's just the salesman at the time, instead of taking it as an opportunity to deliver excellent customer service, decided to turn it into an argument over Telecasters with me. Fast forward to this. So I see this listed as 6 pounds, 10 ounces. I'm very skeptical, and I'm thinking, man, this happened to me 3 years ago with Sweetwater. There's no way they're still making this mistake and posting the weights of their guitars. And I even told my sales rep, I'm a little leery about this. It's not likely that there's a 6 pound, 10 ounce 335 floating around the world, or at least at the Epiphone level. And he's like, oh no, our guys are good. We weigh them, et cetera, et cetera. It's like, okay. I hope so, because that would be amazing. And then guess what? It gets here. No, it's not 6 pounds, 10 ounces. It's 7 pounds, 10 ounces, which, by the way, is still a pretty good weight for 335. So I'm keeping it. And I suggested to Sweetwater, and I'll suggest it to whomever's watching this, or from Sweetwater, if anybody ever watches this video, is your 55-point inspection probably needs to be turned into a 56-point inspection, and add in that they check the weight compared to the advertised weight. I guess I'm making myself that guy, but if you're going so far as to pay what's probably a team of people to process all these guitars through and weigh them, unpack them, photograph them, weigh them, pack them back up, and then pay somebody else when it's purchased to unpack it, go through the 55-point inspection, pack it back up and ship it, and then for it to get to my house and it be a full pound different than your advertised weight, or in the case of that Telecaster, it was almost, I want to say it was 2.5, 3 pounds different weight than your advertising. If you're making that a selling point in your online business and you're investing all that payroll into it, you're not making any money by the time this thing gets here. If somebody's going to just pick it up and be unsatisfied, or has to ship it back because the weight is grossly different than you advertised it for. So I would suggest it would be great to have a 56 point in your inspection where all you do is verify the advertised weight. You got that thing out of there. You got a guy sitting at a desk supposedly looking at action and all the whatever's on there. By the way, I could care less if there's fingerprints on it when I pull it out of a box, but I do care whether it's the right weight, you know what I mean? So that's my experience with Sweetwater. I bought other guitars. For instance, I don't want to go too deep into the Sweetwater thing. So this guitar, this is an SG, Gibson SG Standard. I do love it, by the way. But day one, what is this, a $1,700 guitar? Day one, post 55-point inspection, every pot was scratchy from Gibson and Sweetwater. By the way, I do love this guitar, but if you're going through this big inspection, or at least using that inspection as a sales point, there should never be a guitar that leaves that place with scratchy pots. And the pots are still scratchy, by the way. I got to spray them almost every time. So I kind of put it a little more on Gibson than I do on Sweetwater. But for $1,700, my Classic Vibe played better out of the box. My Epiphone played better out of the box. This one, however, I don't mean to pick on Sweetwater because I like shopping with Sweetwater. This one, this Harmony Comet, perfect. Only thing I could say about this is I believe, and I don't know, maybe it's supposed to be wired this way. Up is the bridge, down is the neck. I don't know why it's like that. I don't know if that's wired backwards or it's supposed to be like that. But this one arrived perfect. And this one's kind of special. This is one of those ones you pick up and you think, "Ooh, this is a nice guitar," but these harmonies are effectively heritage built, which is a pretty special place that makes guitars. So I'm not saying it's all bad. I'm just being nitpicky. I've been in retail since 1989, so I have that weird retailness. Now, I also have this Gretsch I bought fairly recently, which I also love. This one's just about perfect, but again, another example of a sub $1,000 guitar coming in perfectly compared to almost $2,000 guitar coming in with scratchy pots, okay? So those are all Sweetwater purchases. Now, I have just two Guitar Center purchases, I guess. Both used, one of which is this. This is a lacquer 60s Jaguar. No. Yeah, Jaguar. Very clearly marked on Guitar Center's website. Used, again, this thing was used. They even showed where there's a big hack in the bottom of it, which is fine by me. I could care less if there's a hack in a guitar body. Perfect. This thing came perfect. It was even in tune when it arrived with one of these weird-ass bridges. Well, actually, I changed the bridge out, but that's only because the stock or the vintage-style Jaguar bridges are problematic. And then I also bought an Eric Johnson Strat. These are just the guitars I currently own that I bought from there. Used, sight unseen, came perfect. And they don't advertise any special inspection or whatever, and most of you have probably been in a Guitar Center before. It's usually not the highest level skill employees, but I have to say, I don't know if I prefer Guitar Center or Sweetwater. I always go to Sweetwater first because, again, I like to look at the guitar weights. But if you look at what you're actually getting once they come out of the box when you get home, Guitar Center has exceeded expectations, and Sweetwater needs improvement, if you ask me. There's that little bit of that crapshoot factor that you used to get when you had to shop in store. You know, that's why when I was young, the only reason you went to the store is because you didn't know what the hell you were getting. Like one production guitar to the next, it was a crapshoot. Nowadays, construction techniques are fantastic. So you're pretty consistent. So none of this stuff is deal breaker stuff, with the exception being that Telecaster was off by. And I should have saved all the numbers. I didn't think it would happen again, but here we are 3 years later. I've got another guitar order from Sweetwater that's a full pound off from what they advertised it as. So I don't know. I just wanted to talk about my experiences with buying guitars online. You know, electronics online are much easier. Guitars are a whole different animal, I guess. But and then I guess my wild card online purchase was this Eastwood CDR, which came. You can tell somebody legitimately set it up before they shipped it. I'm not expecting, by the way, any of these places to set these guitars up before they ship, but the Eastwood did. I was real nervous about buying a guitar made in Korea at that price from a company I wasn't really familiar with, but this is really one of my favorite guitars now. What a great guitar. Great job, Eastwood, by the way. If you guys have never shopped Eastwood, you should find the website and take a look at them. They're a little hipster frou-frou style. But the stuff sounds and plays very good. So, I don't know. I guess that was just I wanted to spend a few minutes just talking about my online guitar purchase, because here I am 3 years later, and I got another one from Sweetwater that was not as advertised when it comes to the weight. But I do love this guitar. I'll still shop at Sweetwater. I'll still gamble on a lightweight instrument when I see it there. I'm just as much of a dope as anybody when it comes to always looking for that special guitar. You know what I mean? So there you go. I got my little rant. Now it's time to do a little jam. All right, shortest, crappiest jam ever. I'm going to fade this out and I'll be out of here. So thanks for listening to my little rant. Adios.